Today in It's Your Business, with the fiscal cliff looming, we are talking about estate planning and 3 things to do before the end of 2012. Alexandria Strike is a former district attorney. She now owns her own law office where she focuses in on estate planning. Are you kind of sick of this term, fiscal cliff?
A little bit.
We're hearing it all
yes.
the time. It's so big. I mean, there's so many threats out there for everybody.
There is, and the phrase fiscal cliff, the fiscal cliff is looming. Well, what does that mean to people?
Well, what does it mean as far as estate planning and tax breaks?
As far as estate planning, what it means and what is important to me is that as of January 1, the laws are going to revert to a $1 million exemption amount. And what that means is that an individual can pass $1 million without any estate tax. Right now, we can pass $5.12 million.
So it really goes down.
Hugely, yes.
And so what do you think people should do? I said that we would have 3 things that people could do. What should they be doing right now?
Number 1 is don't be a person who sits and does nothing because of the fiscal cliff. So inaction is out. Do something. And number 2 is review your basic estate planning documents. If you don't have an estate plan, make this the year to get it done, because there's always going to be political uncertainty. We can't know everything. Make sure that you have a plan in place for your incapacity and for your death. Number 3 actually is if you have an estate that is going to be worth more than $1 million at the end of this year, figure out if you should take advantage of some advanced estate planning techniques that you can use now before the end of the year.
What would that be?
Well, there are trusts that can be created where you can actually gift money out of your estate this year. If you are worth more than $1 million, you can gift money to an irrevocable trust that can hold that money. You can still receive income. You could possibly still borrow from the trust. You're not actually giving the money to another individual and it's out of your control. You can keep some interest in that asset, and it doesn't have to be cash. It could be real estate. It could be an investment account, but you're taking it out of the estate so that if you die next year, you won't have a taxable estate.
So you don't have to necessarily gift it to someone.
No.
You can put it in a trust.
Correct.
And get some earnings off of it.
Exactly.
Use it. Oh, wow. Is there still time for people to make these changes? We're at December 5th right now.
It's still possible. You may not be able to do everything that you could have done if you started 6 months ago or a couple of years ago, but there is still time to take advantage of some of the techniques available.
You can get the documents done and everything like that that need to be done.
Correct.
Okay, so let's just be the devil's advocate here, because one thing you said, inaction is not acceptable.
Correct.
I believe was what your term.
That's correct.
But what if people really believe that this is just a threat, that they're going to get the votes in and everything else, and everything's going to be fine as we enter into 2013?
Well, it's a gamble, and this is what we saw at the end of 2010. At the end of 2010, we had an agreement reached between the President and Congress, and we had a new exemption amount, which is that $5 million exemption amount that's in effect right now. That lasted 2 years. There's still time. It's still possible that we have a change in the laws, but if an agreement isn't reached at the last minute this year, $1 million and up, you have a taxable estate.
Wow, food for thought right there, isn't it? Alexandria, thank you for bringing your information
Carolyn.
to us. We'll be back with more of the News at Noon.